Okay, you want to start like this?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready.
Ready?
You ready?
3, 2. All right, we're back. Simon's already taking a drink. You know it's going to be a good
It's been
episode.
a day already, folks. It's been a day already.
Welcome back to the Dodge and Burn podcast. This is episode 3. I'm Anthony,
I'm Simon.
and yeah,
We're ready to go.
ready to go.
Hopefully you guys have been watching the other episodes. I realized after we posted the first one, I can't look at the view counts because
Right.
it's starting to stress me out. I'm like, I don't need another thing to be stressed out in my life.
Literally.
Right now, so
How you been, man? Everything good?
I've been good. Yeah. You know, editing, doing the usual
Yeah.
photography thing,
Nice.
you know,
Same.
cool, man.
Yeah, bro. We are slowly finishing up wedding season for the year.
How many more do you have left?
I have one more,
Me too.
and that's it.
This weekend.
It's kind of
actually.
crazy.
Yeah.
Next weekend for me.
Yeah, it's nuts. The problem is most people think that once wedding season is done, you know, you're sort of like, oh, you get to like chill and stuff. No, because this is when
No.
all of the backlog editing. This is
Exactly.
also when I do all of my couples albums.
Right.
Which is tedious.
It is very tedious.
For some reason, I feel like it's not that I'm not good at it. It's like
Yeah.
I have to think way harder for the layout stuff than I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely time consuming, but like you said, like this is the time where most photographers do like updated branding shots and update their websites, blogs, all that stuff. So
Which is, and I think, you know, that really ties into kind of what we're going to talk about today, which is things that, you know, I don't want to call them trends, but things that, you know, we both like that are starting to make their way into photography and weddings in general, and things that we're just not too fucking cool on.
It's been interesting.
Oh wait,
year,
hold on.
though.
Did we decide? Are we cursing on this episode? Are we cursing in this
We can
podcast?
curse.
Okay, cool. We never really talked about it. So.
It's funny because I never did a YouTube channel before, and then when you upload a video, you can do not safe for children or for
this is
everybody.
definitely not
It's
safe for
definitely
children.
not safe for children.
I make sure my kids aren't even home when we record this.
Yeah. So, bro, this has been an interesting year. I feel like we've seen a lot of trends in photography. There's been a few that I liked, a few that I haven't really fucked with that much.
And it's all,
You know?
the trends are hard to talk about too, because I feel like trends are cyclical, right? So
Absolutely.
there are trends that are happening now in the wedding industry, but also just in photography in general, that are just coming back from decades past, which is hysterical to me, but I guess it should be obvious that that's going to happen at some point, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I have a few trends that I want to talk about, but I'm curious to see, Simon, what is a trend you absolutely fucking love
That's happening right now.
right now? Give it to me, bro.
You know what? I'm really into the direct flash thing.
So am I. There's a lot of photographers I feel like that are picking up that trend too,
And it's,
and clients love it too.
yeah, and I think that I have clients now, a lot of clients asking for it, but they don't always know sort of how to ask. They're like,
Yeah.
do you do like that film style?
You mean direct flash?
Well, that's usually what they mean when I hear film style, but I'll always have people send me, I think I know what you mean, but can you like find me some examples and shoot me like some Pinterest, whatever?
Some
And
inspiration,
it's
something.
usually like
Direct flash.
direct flash, party
Yeah.
flash.
Yeah.
I think that, again, and I'm going to preface this whole conversation we're having with trends with, you know, if they are done tastefully, I think they're great. If they're overused or used in a way that's not, I don't want to harp too much on the technical side of it, but like it's easy to like fuck up direct flash.
Oh, absolutely.
And just have it look bad.
Absolutely. What would you say is like, so when you are using direct flash, like kind of walk me through, like, do you, like, what's the scene you have to be in? Like, what does that process look like? Because you can't use direct flash in any kind of scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's definitely direct flash comes in for the party atmosphere.
Okay.
Definitely. And then also sort of people are leaning a little bit more into what they call editorial.
Yeah. Because like people use it during like portraits and stuff too.
Yeah. And you know,
I like to do that.
it depends on here's my favorite thing to do with direct flash. We do our normal thing with nice natural light portraits for everything. But you know, when the bride has maybe a dress change for the reception, or
that's nice.
when we can get them some alone time in the back, like, hey, open a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
And then we just do some like
fun, candid, like don't make it too staged.
Yeah. And I think, a wide angle lens,
Yeah.
like I'm generally shooting like a 28 or a 24 with a direct flash. It gives like this sort of natural vignette, which I kind of like. But that's when I would use it pretty much.
Clients, if you are looking for direct flash, don't ask for film. Just be like, hey, how do we get direct flash into our gallery?
Yeah.
Right.
And so the funny thing is, if we're looking at this trend in particular, it comes from those old point and shoot film cameras that had the flash right next to the lens, and you get that, that look, and it's sort of coming back, which is funny to me, but I love it.
Yeah. And it kind of brings me into a trend. That whole story you just told brings me into a trend that I like, which is, I feel like a lot of photographers are transforming their style. Like they are moving from less staged, like super duper posed photos to more of a storytelling atmosphere for the wedding day.
Yeah. And I think in that sense too, because I'm assuming you're saying this isn't like a trend you're digging, right?
Oh yeah. I love this trend. I love this trend.
I think it's a combination of storytelling, but also just more candid moments, but also it sort of goes back to what we're saying about all these trends is that, using them tastefully, I guess is the right word. But storytelling, but knowing what moments to photograph.
Knowing how to tell the right story.
Right. And this is sort of, we talked about this in episode 1, because that's sort of my background. I came from that sort of storytelling documentary thing. And I love that this is a thing that people are asking for now, which is that, we have couples now that are just asking for like, I want some nice portraits, but mostly I just want candids and everyone having fun.
Just be a fly on the wall and capture these moments.
Yeah.
I love that.
And where I am with this, here's a photographer to check out. His name's Greg Williams.
He's like a famous like portraiture photographer.
So
right?
So surprisingly, no. He is like
No?
the thing he does mostly now is he does a lot of the award shows. Like he does the BAFTAs every year. He does.
Okay. Wait, am I thinking of the same guy?
Maybe not. I don't know.
not.
But
Maybe
he's a big Leica photographer.
I am thinking of the same guy.
But he shoots a lot of like award shows and gets these people in these really like real moments, I guess you could call it. He'll wait for them to come off stage and get them right as they're coming off stage with like their Oscar or their Golden Globe or something like that. And the thing that he always harps on that I think goes along with sort of how I shoot a lot is that he is a part of the action. He's not just observing it. He's not a fly on the wall.
Yeah, no, I love that so much because it's so hard to fake like emotion sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's better to just but at the same time, bro, like I think it's so tricky because you have clients that are like, hey, I don't know what to do. What do I do with my body? What do I do with my hands? And then I have clients that are like, hey, I actually used a photographer before that gave no direction, that just stood there, didn't know what to say or do. So like, how does that work in that atmosphere? Like, do you still give them some type of direction?
Oh, 100%. I mean, for me, it's, it's a lot of times when it's just the portraits of the couple, it's sort of staged candidates, if that makes sense. We always give them things to do with each other so that it's not just look at the camera and you don't feel like you're posing. You're doing things with each other, and then we're capturing that. So yes, it's candid, but we've given them sort of a prompt.
Exactly. Give them a story, and then you go from there and develop the story.
And I think that so that kind of goes along with another one of what we were talking about, being intentional with these trends like direct flash, like being intentional with the photos you capture that are candid. Another one that I really, really like is motion blur. And this is sort of, we were considering doing this as a hot button topic with the blurry photos.
Which is just kind of crazy though, because I know what you're about to say, that you love them, but I remember when I first started out as a photographer and I would see a lot of the blurry photos that I would create and fucking hate them.
Right.
Because I'm like, oh, why can't my photos be in focus? But now people love that.
There's sort of a couple different things we're talking about here. I think that the way I like to do blurry photos is
like
tastefully, but it's also motion blur that's conveying an action. And I'll give you an example. It's sort of one of my favorite ones to get is after the bride and groom come back down the aisle after they get married. A lot of the times, you know, in some of the venues we shoot, they'll be walking out of the church, or they'll sort of, you know, run to the cocktail hour or whatever. I love running behind them and going down to like a 15th of a second and just shooting like that.
Yeah.
And it sort of conveys the excitement of what's happening at that point.
Okay. But wait, excitement. So let me ask you this. It conveys the excitement of what's happening, but is that according to you, or is that what you think the couple will like?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think that...
Because it fits that story vibe.
Yeah, it fits the story vibe. And sometimes I don't shoot those shots. You know, like if they're walking out and it's just very kind of like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, this isn't that vibe. You have to sort of...
It wouldn't make sense in the gallery.
Right.
Right.
And I think that the thing I see that bothers me about blurry photos is I see so many photographers will have a couple just stand there, look at the camera and go, "Ugh, ugh."
Oh, so you don't like it?
I don't like that because to me, it's why is that photo blurry? The reason that the photo is blurry to me is part of the story.
There should be intentionality behind it.
So what I'm saying is, like, if I'm chasing the couple out, it's almost like I'm trying to run to keep up with this couple. And that's sort of giving that, it's sort of part of the story. Whereas it's just like,
I see what you're saying.
They're just standing there, I'm like, why is this, like, I don't understand the concept of why it's blurry. Does that make sense at all?
No, that makes sense.
And I do like the shot. We did this one a lot where, you know, everything else is clear and the couple's walking across the frame and that's blurry. That's a little more of like trendy, like super everyone's doing that shot. But I still like it because it's giving that sense of motion. They're moving through this frame, and it only works for me, at least when I like it, is if your frame is of something beautiful. So if it's, you know, some big marble stairs at like, you know, PAFA or something like that, that works well. If it's just like, okay, we're just going to walk across this thing, it's going to be blurry. It's like, yeah, I get it, but it's not doing it for me.
So let me ask you this. So let's say you have a client who you did that for, you did the blurry effect to a few photos, and they look at the photo and they're not really a trendy couple, and they say, hey, why is this photo so blurry? Do you have the actual photo in focus? Because that has happened.
That's a great question. There's two aspects of that. One is you have to get a good sense of what your couple is into before
I agree.
You take photos. I've had couples say to me, like, we don't like blurry photos.
Yeah.
Not even, without even anything else. I'm like, got it. Check.
It won't happen.
But I also always take that photo not blurry too.
Facts.
Just to have it.
Facts.
Just
get the safe
just
photo.
And
so that's a tip for all you photographers. Get that safe photo. Always get the safe photo, and then you can have fun with everything after.
Right.
Right. So that kind of brings me into another trend that I kind of like.
Hit me.
Well, it's sort of like a two-part trend.
Okay.
So the revival of film photography, as well as the use of drones from a photographer's point of view.
Love it.
So I've seen, and I actually do this myself, I will tend to sometimes shoot 35 millimeter film on a wedding day. And honestly, I think you can ask majority of wedding photographers, and I think they'll all say the same thing, where you just love the look of film. You know, that's sort of why a lot of people do it, is they love the look. And also, at least for me, it helps me slow down a little bit and be more intentional with certain photos. This
is definitely something that we will be doing a whole episode on, because I could talk.
Oh, absolutely.
I could talk for a very long time on film, because when we started, we were shooting, Magda and I were shooting probably 50-50 film and digital. But I think the trend of film has changed a lot, because what it used to be was that we would shoot medium format film. We would shoot Fuji 400H, overexposed by 2 stops, on a Contax 645, wide open, the Jose Villa, you know, formula. And then we would take our digital images and try to get them to look as much as possible like the film images we took.
Yeah.
And then you would deliver the gallery, and hopefully everything would look the same, and a client couldn't tell what was film and digital.
Yeah.
And that was the way we used to do things. The way I like to use film now is that I want it to look different than our digital.
Absolutely.
I don't want to try to match it. So when I'm shooting, which we shoot mostly 35 now, and back in the day we would shoot, like 7 years ago, but we would shoot medium format because it was cleaner, it was less grain, it was more of depth of field. But now I shoot 35 because it looks like, you know, kind of along the same lines as the party flash.
Yeah.
It looks more like those old disposable cameras, or even not disposable cameras. Just it's nostalgic in a way.
And there's actually a photographer on Instagram. Her Instagram handle is, I believe it's E Heiser.
Okay.
You might have followed her or not, but I love her work because it seems as if she shoots like 60% film and the rest is digital.
Yeah.
And some of the it's just, there's so much imperfection to it, which I love.
Do you offer any like film only packages at all?
I don't. I'm scared about that a little bit. Cause
Come with me. I'll show you. We don't do it very often, but we do a. I've shot 4 or 5 weddings now completely on film with no digital backup.
I must say, Simon is the reason why I'm currently in $275,000 in camera gear debt. So, yeah.
I take no.
We will be zooming in on that face.
But it's a very specific client, and it's generally a client that's asking for all film.
Absolutely.
And there is some sort of imperfection of it, and it's one of the other reasons I like shooting with my digital Leica, because it has the same amount of risk, but also I feel like the photos that you don't nail still look cool in a way.
Decent, right.
But I think we're going to probably end up.
Oh, absolutely.
Comment down below if you want to see like a film episode or a Leica episode or something. But
we're still going to do it anyway, but just still
but
comment.
Let us know. But yeah, and then as far as you were saying about drone photography, that's like the thing I finally
Wait, do you have a drone?
into. I do.
Thank God. What kind of drone do you have?
I have the Mavic Mini 3 Pro.
Nice.
I just wanted one that was small, but that could shoot RAW, because I remember for a while they couldn't shoot RAW.
Yeah.
It was just JPEGs.
Yeah.
But I wanted something small, and that if I flew it high enough during a ceremony, it wouldn't be super distracting.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I know it's not time for the hot button topic, but videographers, listen to me. I love you all.
Simon's going off script.
A big ass drone that you are going to hover above the ceremony for the entire ceremony. Maybe they make those like quieter propellers. I don't know. I don't know enough about drones, but like those things are loud and distracting,
So
which is why I went with the small one. And literally, I'll fly it over, take one picture, and fly back. It's easier than doing video,
right.
But I love the perspective that you can get
Absolutely
from a drone, and it's funny because these were things that you couldn't get 10 years ago without renting a helicopter. Like
literally. Now they
no
fit
way.
in your pocket.
Yeah.
There's one that's 250 grams. It's so small.
Yeah. They're super tiny. It fits in my
Yeah.
camera bag. Like, it's not a big thing. And you don't actually need a license to just fly one. I think.
No, I don't think so. At least, well, it has to weigh a specific weight. I believe the ones under 250, you don't need a license, but over 250, you do. I believe.
So what the real thing is that you do need a license for all of these, because no one's ever going to stop you.
Yeah, no one's going to stop you.
Don't take me to jail, please. Those are the trends right now that I think I'm kind of into. And granted, this is all super subjective, right? So what we say right now, you might be listening to.
People might think we're crazy and be like, what? Really?
But we're the ones with the podcast, so you have to listen to what we say.
Which kind of brings me into, Simon, what are some trends that you don't like? Because I have a few, but I feel like we're probably going to be on page.
I cannot get into the Dutch angle photos that are popping up again. Dutch angle is basically a photo that's just like tilted, like on purpose.
Which is, again, crazy to me, because I started my journey 5 years ago, and seeing crooked photos like that, you would get shamed. You would literally be put to hang in the middle of the street.
Go onto Pinterest and look up some wedding photos circa like 2000 through 2007, maybe 2006. It's all a ton of that stuff. So it's just coming back. It's all cyclical, which makes total sense.
It is. Yeah, so that's kind of crazy to see. And don't get me wrong, I like it. And one of my good photographer friends, she's really good at doing that. I feel like it's only good for certain situations, not all the time.
Here's what, and let me rephrase that. I don't necessarily, the people who are good at it, when I see it, I don't notice it.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed. That's a good point.
Whereas like every time I get to a photo that I'm editing,
right,
and it's tilted, and part of my brain goes, "Oh, this is sort of like in now." I can't.
I have
to
crazy.
fix it. There's that.
That's so true.
Yeah. there's that. And then the other, this one's a little bit less in the wedding industry, but if you are watching a YouTube fan or a lot of, it's really just YouTube photographers, I have to admit, but people who are putting Black Pro Mist filters on everything.
So Black Pro Mist filters, what do they
so
effect do they give you?
So they basically they soften everything up. So they give what's called a bloom to the highlights.
It gives it like a what's that word?
It's almost like there's haze in the
haze,
photo.
like a haze.
And when you edit a certain way, that can look cool in some instances. And I think that there's a time and a place to use those filters.
Absolutely.
Which is most things. But there's so many photographers I now see on Instagram, on that kind of stuff. Generally, it hasn't really made its way too much into the wedding world yet, maybe for video a little bit, but they just leave a Pro Mist filter on for everything they do. And like watching someone shoot a Black Pro Mist filter on an overcast day
makes no sense.
It just is like, what are you doing? And it's like, as soon as I see that, I'm like, no, next, I can't do this. So that's the other one I thought of.
Yeah.
Which ones are your like?
Yeah, so I loved your the ones that you just said. But I think one trend that really, really bugs me is people that edit their photos to make everything look orange.
Or brown.
And I literally will have clients that reach out to me that will say, hey, we love your work. We just want to make sure that you don't put this orange filter on photos.
I think I'm gonna add to that is that
it's crazy.
Over stylized editing. Because
I guess
the brown and orange thing I've seen a bunch. I don't see it quite as much now, but I feel like anything that goes super far on either end of like the color shift spectrum.
I agree.
Is going to be trendy for a hot second, and then what are you going to do? Do you have to reinvent your style?
Right. That's why, honestly, for a lot of photographers, and I'm just going to say because this is my podcast. So, a lot of white photographers that aren't hey, that aren't used to like shooting people of color. It could be black, brown, Indian. When they use that orangey filter, or
I texted you about that the other day. I was shooting. We had a mixed couple. The bride was black, groom was white.
Yeah.
And I edited a couple photos, and I was like, "This looks good to me, but I need to double check." So I actually texted a picture. I'm like, "Did the black skin tones look okay?" And it's funny, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to fuck this up, you know. And I look at them like, I think that looks good, but
exactly.
I have friends that have done that and delivered photos, and their parents, I think these were like family photos, but their parents were like, "What's up with the skin tone?"
Yeah,
and it's I would rather be sure than anything else. But yeah, that's a big thing with all those like super stylized thing. It's like, how does that work with different skin tones?
And I think the reason why you and I are like pretty successful in this business is, yes, we're great photographers. We're great with our clients.
I'm mediocre at best, but
well, yeah, he's. But the way that like the style of editing that we both have is very like natural, like true to tone.
It doesn't stray too far from what is like. If you looked at stuff that I edited 5 years ago to compare to what I did like yesterday, you could take two photos and be like, oh, that's really different.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I didn't shift from one to the other. It was just like a very gradual, oh, this is getting more and more, this is like, the thing right now is a lot of like true to life color, which I love. I think that's sort of what we've always sort of done that, but it's been like a softer version of that where now it's a little more contrasty, a little more poppy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take much to adjust that just slightly.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like, bro, we could probably talk about trends that we love and hate for hours.
Forever.
But yeah, we're trying to limit this to 30 minutes, people.
Very easily digestible.
Yes.
Ingestible, digestible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've reached the point where you, in your infinite ability to trigger people.
I'm a sweetheart, guys. Don't listen to him.
Well, this is how it works. He's really good at asking questions that trigger people, and I don't care what I'm recorded saying. So it's just going to work out this way. What is the hot button topic for this week?
Okay, so I actually got this off of Instagram. Shout out to Gina. She is the one who recommended this, and it's an amazing hot button topic. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's go.
Okay. What are your thoughts on tipping at weddings? One, should it even happen? Two, should every vendor at your wedding get tipped? And how much is appropriate to get tipped at weddings?
I'm so happy you asked this.
Oh, shit.
I will say this, that I never go into a wedding expecting a tip.
Exactly. I agree.
If we are being completely honest, when we have had an awesome day,
Yeah.
and I feel like we've done a good job.
Which is always, obviously.
Yeah, but like, but there are some weddings you get through and you're like, we did a great job and, we'll see you later. But there's some you get done and you're like, that was awesome.
Want to go home.
Well, yeah, that too. But when we get done a wedding,
Yeah.
and it's been a really long day and we're tired and we leave and there's not a tip, I have feelings sometimes. You know, it's hard. No, I don't expect it. But when we do get it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I also don't expect it. And when we don't get it, I'm kind of like, huh, okay.
Interesting.
I also think that a lot of people, there's not really a set in stone rule about this.
Absolutely not.
I've heard things that people say, like, if the vendor owns their own company, you shouldn't tip them. But if they're...
Well, what if you go to a restaurant, right?
Sure.
Like, it's not set in stone that you have to tip the waiter.
I mean,
right?
It kind of is.
How?
It is a generally expected practice to tip your servers.
So why can't it be generally expected to tip your vendors?
Because the server is not getting paid $10,000 to serve your table.
Which brings me into my devil's advocate point of, yes, I'm paying you 10 grand to shoot my wedding. That's a lot of money. Why should I now tip you an extra $200, $300?
That's a great question. The way I sort of have always looked at it is that you are paying that amount of money for the product you're getting. So you're paying that amount of money for our expertise in helping you through your wedding day. You're paying that amount of money for the photos you're going to get, obviously, and the amount of time we spend shooting and editing those photos.
Absolutely.
If we're going to talk about what a tip is for, I think the tip is sort of the above and beyond part of it, which I think, is how you would, I think it's, standard to tip. What is it? 15% is like the standard, but
so wait, you're gonna tip 15% on 10,000?
No. I think 15% is sort of the standard with like a restaurant, right? You're expected to tip 15%. But if someone goes above and beyond, which is what I would consider normally, unless I had bad service, it's 20%.
Okay.
So that above and beyond thing is what I would sort of think about what a vendor's tip would be. I can only speak for myself as a photographer. It's a planner is different.
But why? Planners probably charge way more than photographers.
Sure, but I think that what they do and what they're expected to do during the day is slightly different. Okay. Whereas,
so you should get tipped based off of your roles for the day.
I think so. It's this is such a gray area, which is why I think it's a good hot button topic. I think that if you have a vendor that you pay money to do a service, and then they go above and beyond in that service, whether that be their personalities, whether that be how helpful they are, just any of that stuff, that is when I would consider tipping. And if we're talking about how much, we can talk numbers here. I think that, we have been tipped $100 before. We've been tipped $800 before.
Yeah.
And I think that I was happy to get the 100. I was happy to get the 800.
Literally, I would be happy to get $20. Honestly, I think it's just a show of appreciation.
Oh, and we also don't get tipped often too. So it's yeah.
Which is okay too. Like, I'm honestly not upset if I don't get tipped, but would I prefer to get tipped Yes, because it just shows that, yes, you did a good job today.
Right.
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Here's a $20 tip. Here's a $10 tip. I've gotten $20 tips before, which is totally okay.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. For me, it just feels, I feel appreciated.
I think that's a great way to put it. It feels, you feel like you're appreciated. And,
but does that make me crazy? Because why does it take a monetary value to feel appreciated versus someone just saying, hey, you did a great job?
So I think it goes the other way, right? Because when a client tips you, I feel that they are going above and beyond from what you would expect them to do. Whereas the same thing in reverse, whereas I think a good rule of thumb as far as tipping your vendors goes is if they go above and beyond. So it's sort of like a reciprocal thing. But the long and the short of it is there's not a steadfast rule on it. No matter what anyone on TikTok.
Boomer. We got a fucking boomer.
I am not a fucking boomer. Jesus Christ. I was born in 84.
Let's go on the TikTok today, kids.
Yeah, if I used the beforehand, then it would be definitely. But no matter what you see on social media, there's no hard, fast rule.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many of those viral videos. Here's how you know how to tip your vendors. It's like, that's not how it works. But long and the short of it is that it's a great practice to tip your vendors, but it's not something that we go in there expecting to get every time.
I agree. All right, bro. This was fun. I love this episode. Hope you guys liked it too. I hope you like and subscribe, comments on our video, share it if you can. It really will help us grow our channel. And any last words?
Yeah, I think if you guys have ideas for hot button topics, that was a great one we wouldn't have thought of. So just DM us and we'll talk about whatever, really. So,
exactly.
All right, cool, man. And theme song. Does he want some beer? You want some beer? This is not the beer you're looking for.